The stand taken by Lake Macquarie Council is largely a gesture, but outspoken criticism of the Longwall mining plan by Mayor Ivan Welsh gives concerned residents a powerful ally.
What we're opposed to is the fact that this is not accidental extraction anymore, this is planned extraction, or planned subsidence, if you like.
And does that automatically mean risk to people's property?
I think it does. I think it means automatically, once we say the mine's going under there, they're going to have subsidence.
BHP admits that subsidence is an unavoidable factor, but they claim the depth of the operation will keep that subsidence to an acceptable minimum.
But there is
Ivan
going
Welsh
to be
doesn't
subsidence.
see it that way.
And to my mind, I don't think they nor anybody else has the right to say, we're going to make subsidence under your home. We're going to damage your home, but don't worry about it. Any damage we do, we'll fix.
Residents' Committee spokesman Bevan Ramsden says the growing public outcry could prove costly to BHP in terms of its image.
We think it's really a pretty cold and calculated act of violence against private property. Really it is. And even if you get compensated, if you're lucky enough, why should your house and its foundations be damaged in the first place?
Well, bearing in mind, obviously BHP have an obligation.
Proctor has gone under that time.
Donna Proctor certainly won't be stopping her training schedule during the Christmas New Year period. The Merewether 18-year-old has 3 international meets coming up in January, as well as 4 more in Europe during February. Although Donna will get Christmas Day off from the pool, it's back to training first thing Boxing Day. Arcadia Vale sailboarder David Woods is also in full training. In fact, come Sunday, he'll be competing in the World Mistral Championships in Sydney. Cyclist Craig Chapman has moved to Sydney for tougher training and competition, and if anything will be increasing his training regime with competition races every weekend, the state titles in February and the nationals in March. Small bore shooter Don Brook will keep his eye in over the holidays. He's a certainty for Seoul after bringing home a gold medal from last year's World Championships. Commonwealth Games weightlifting champion Greg Hayman is one of the few who is taking a short break. Greg, who turned 30 yesterday, has been given until January 4th to take it easy. He is also a 99% chance of being on the plane for Seoul. Our only athlete already selected for the Olympics is table tennis champ Gary Harble of Katara. Gary is Australia's top-ranked open player and was one of only 3 to qualify from Australia and New Zealand. With no competition for the next couple of months, Gary will be having a relaxing holiday break.
Tonight we'll bring you a story on last-minute Christmas shopping in Newcastle. Shops packed today as people tied up loose ends, and Santa did a roaring trade as children all over the city made sure that their Christmas orders were placed before Santa packs his sleigh.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
Police and fire authorities raced to a partial derailment at Wickham this afternoon involving a carriage containing 40,000 litres of diesel. We'll bring you a full report on that tonight.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
The State Rail Authority had been moving 5 wagons from a fuel company siding at Wickham to the Broadmeadow Railway yards when the partial derailment happened at the corner of Hannell and Annie Streets. One set of wheels from one of the wagons ran off the tracks. Although there was no leakage from the tank, Cooks Hill and Tyres Hill fire brigades were called in as a precautionary measure. Firemen say if the wagon containing 40,000 litres of diesel had rolled over or leaked, the situation could have been dangerous, with only the slightest spark possibly resulting in a massive explosion. Police also attended the accident, redirecting traffic while men worked to put the wagon back on the tracks. That took almost 2 hours, and the SRA is now investigating the cause of the accident.
Linda has been at the forefront of Australian long jump for many years. The 3 times national champion finished 4th at the Brisbane Commonwealth Games, and then in 1984, the mother of 1 made it to the final of the Los Angeles Olympics. At the age of 32, and now the mother of 3, Linda is making another return to the long jump pit, a return that was not totally planned.
Basically, I used to go for a run to escape the children, so to speak. I found it was a good way to relax and get rid of tensions when having the 3 young kids, and then I suddenly realised I was fit and I had a jump. I jumped okay, so I'm back in it again.
Her coach for the past 20 years, Max Debnam, says he believes Linda has what it takes to make another assault on next year's Olympics.
We'll have to sort of see what happens at state championships, and then nationals this year are in Perth.
So we'll see what happens there and probably make decisions from there, because you'll have to make a big commitment to make the Olympics next year. But look, she's so talented and she can be so dedicated that I got no doubts that if she really can put the work in, who knows what she can do.
The qualifying length for Seoul is 6 metres 55. Linda's best is 6 metres 80, and she's now training up to 6 sessions a week to get back the form she had when she retired 2.5 years ago.
Two men, a young Australian and a New Zealander, were making a delivery run from Sydney to Coolah on the edge of the Upper Hunter. Unfortunately, they never made it. Their twin-engine Piper was flying over the property of Amaroo, about 12 kilometres east of Cassilis, when it ran into serious trouble.
We heard a rough sounding noise like a helicopter, and we've had a number of helicopters around lately. We looked to see where it was, and then there was no sound at all. And the plane was coming down in a vertical dive and doing a slight spiral. And I thought that fellow's doing aerobatics. And then when he didn't endeavour to pull out, getting closer to the ground, and his speed was increasing very dramatically, I realised that, you know, we had a crash pretty imminent, and Colin said, he's crashed. And we then went over as quickly as we could in the Toyota, but it took us about 15 minutes to get there because it was fairly inaccessible. And you've seen the wreckage has just obviously dived vertically down and made a terrible, terrible mess.
The bodies and plane wreckage was compacted into a small, tangled heap. Police were at a loss to know what has caused the plane to plunge from the sky on a clear day with good visibility. About 12 kilometres east of Cassilis when its engine was heard to splutter. Farmer David Morrow says the plane went into a spin before plunging head first to the ground. All that remained was the twisted and compacted wreckage and 2 bodies.
The aerobic craze has taken the younger generation by storm, but now there's something for those a little more experienced in years. Swing-along exercises for seniors is spreading throughout the region, and organisers hope the program's success will soon go national.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
Exactly 3 weeks ago, the Antarctic supply ship, the Nella Dan, ran aground during a violent storm off Macquarie Island. Despite a sustained salvage attempt, the ship could not be safely towed back to Australia for repairs, and it will be scuttled tomorrow. This paves the way for a replacement. The federal government announced that it wanted an Australian-owned and built ship to carry on the work of the Nella Dan. It agreed to charter a vessel from P&O, who decided a purpose-built vessel was required. Late this afternoon, Carrington Slipways was advised by P&O that it had won the lucrative contract worth about $60 million. The 90 metres replacement vessel will be due for delivery in September 1989. Its shell plating, required of an icebreaker, will be the heaviest ever constructed by the Tomigo-based builder. There will also be the provision of special heating and insulation. Managing Director of Carrington Slipways, Don Laverick, says the project will be invaluable preparation for the billion-dollar frigate project. He says it will play a vital part in the build-up of quality drawing and manufacturing standards required if the AWS consortium is to win a part of that contract. It will also create another 250 jobs at the shipyard during the period of the contract.
The Eagle was open for public inspection again today, and once more there were plenty of sightseers anxious to get a closer look at the square rigger. But while the public were looking at the bark, most of the crew were assembling in Newcastle for a parade. More than 100 young sailors joined the march to the accompaniment of the Broadmeadow High School and Community Band. Organisers say it's a rare event for the crew to march through a city during their visits, but they say the warm-hearted welcome they received from Newcastle prompted them to repay the enthusiasm with this gesture. Among the marchers, 2 young people out of uniform. They're the 2 Australians among the crew wearing akubras just for the occasion. After the march, the rest of the day was set aside for meeting the people and sightseeing. Then back to the ship for Christmas under what could arguably be the tallest Christmas tree in the city.
For all the trimmings and commercialism, at its core, Christmas is a Christian celebration of great importance. It marks the birth of the Son of God in the tiny city of Bethlehem. At Newcastle's Christchurch Cathedral this morning, the congregation shared the traditional carols and hymns. The pews were filled with all ages, especially the young, who couldn't part with their brand new acquisitions from Santa. In his sermon, Father Christopher Bird explained the significance of giving gifts at Christmas. He told the congregation that it symbolised the greatest exchange in history, when God gave his son Jesus to the world. Father Bird said God shared our humanity so that we may share his divinity. It's this sense of hope, he said, which inspires Christians all over the world to celebrate Christmas with joy, prosperity and happiness.
Tomorrow night at 6:30, NBN presents Hunter 87 News Review. A look back at local news for the past 12 months. The issues, the tragedy and the triumph. Hunter 87 News Review tomorrow night 6:30 on NBN.
Ambulance officers in the Hunter region are traditionally among the most militant in the state, but this time they're part of a unanimous decision to stage a general strike if the health department doesn't come up with a solution to the deadlocked wages row. The Hospital and Research Employees Union claims the health department has been stalling wage improvements for years to avoid costly retrospective payouts. Now ambulance officers are at the end of their tether. Newcastle Branch Union President Jeff Marlborough says the officers are aware of the possible consequences of their strike, but they mean business.
Well, it's certainly no bluff on the ambulance services side. The rank and file have put the mandate to the executive, and the executive have noted that it was a unanimous decision, and speaking for the officers of the Hunter region, there's certainly no bluff on their side. If the situation isn't resolved, then I'm afraid for the first time we will have been drawn by the faceless bureaucrats of the industrial section of the Department of Health into an all-out strike.
What will that mean to the public?
That will mean that the public will be left with virtually no ambulance service. The very sparse service that will be left will be staffed by superintendents, and that will be probably 5 or 6 superintendents to cover the whole of the Hunter region.
Meanwhile, the long-running country doctors dispute could be close to settlement. Doctors are considering an offer from the state government, which includes a $60 on-call allowance as well as a new pay scale for services fee. Doctors remain non-committal tonight, but they are expected to have a reply late tomorrow.
The Harbourside Park at the end of Wharf Road is the centrepiece of the Council's development of the Harbourside and East End Beaches area. It's also been the focus of some of the harshest criticism. Vice President of the Australian Conservation Foundation, Milo Dunphy, called it the lowest level of municipal engineering that can be produced. Today, Newcastle's Lord Mayor, John McNaughton, said the credentials of the project's designers, Tract Consultants, were impeccable.
Now, Joy Cummings established this as an international competition. The Tract Consultants who won the competition won it against international competition, and it's been something that's been done, and we're very, very proud of it. And the fact that Milo Dunphy and his ilk wish to knock everything in Australia is up to Milo Dunphy. He gets an unnecessarily high image, in my view, and I believe that he should stay in Sydney where he belongs.
Another aspect of the development which has been slammed is the building of Housing Commission units at a site alongside the park, an action also defended by the Lord Mayor.
The private sector had at least 10 years when that was available to put in a bid for that land, and it was there was no interest in it by the private sector, so the public sector, in the form of the then Housing Commission, now the Department of Housing, decided to build units on there, and I think that they'll be an excellent facility for the city.
The Lord Mayor says the development, including the units, the Harbourside Pathway and the Queen's Wharf Tower, are all on schedule and will be completed before mid-year. By that time, the Council will also have finished alterations to the roadways around the city beaches. The Esplanade is being made into a two-way road, and all other accesses are being given brick thresholds, signifying a 40-kilometre zone. And the changes may not end there. The Council is currently awaiting recommendations from Tract Consultants on the best use of the vacated SRA land adjacent to the park. By the end of the year, Novocastrians should also know what form of transport, if any, will replace the railway line alongside the harbour.
The hunt for jobs started in earnest today for school leavers in Newcastle. Thousands of young people queued for hours, all hoping to win one of 200 positions in a new retailing venture. The flight of hopefuls coincides with the government's announcement of new job search social security allowances for school leavers.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
A tip-off to police today failed to help in the investigations into the mysterious disappearance of 43-year-old Malcolm Young. Young went missing from his Macquarie Hills home on New Year's Eve. His wife claims he was kidnapped by a gunman who later held her hostage.
For all the news, join us tonight at 6.
Bicentennial decorations are appearing around Newcastle, but the organising committee hopes these efforts will swell into a riot of colour closer to Australia Day. Dinky Dyed Decor competition organiser Karen Lemming says she hopes to see the city decked out with flags, posters and more.
It's been a bit quiet with Christmas time because all the retailers are trying to sell for Christmas. But now that January is upon us, we expect that lots of people will be hanging the posters all over the place and adding their own decorations as well.
To get things moving, the committee is offering free Bicentennial posters at its Civic Arcade office in Hunter Street. Tomorrow, residents will receive this pamphlet with their rate notices, which contains highlights of Newcastle's Bicentennial festivities.